Pete, I want to build the fastest vSAN cluster of all time. I'm inspired. You know, the Olympics are coming up. I want to set some records. How do I build the fastest vSAN cluster?
All right. So the first step that you need to do is understand that this is really all about your hardware choices. So you're going to choose the fastest storage devices and the fastest networking and really fast CPUs and everything else that that goes with it. From a storage device perspective, that generally means anything NVMe based. That's essentially the bus protocol that's being used. But then the actual media that's being used for that NVMe device, that is really 3D XPoint or Intel Optane devices. That's avoiding a traditional NAND flash, which has some inherent challenges when it comes to massive amounts of writes that are being sent to it. So if you can gear your hosts to where they're fully populated with, let's say, Intel Optane storage devices, that would be in a sense, the fastest storage componentry that you can have within the actual host. Now, of course, since it's a distributed system, we have to factor in all these other things like network cards, as well as network switches. And then, of course, the transport that is going to be used. Thankfully, with recent versions of vSAN, we support vSAN over RDMA. So that's another way that you can complement these faster storage systems or the faster storage devices and make this all work as a single unit. With a distributed storage system, you can't focus just on one thing and then forget about everything else. You're only as fast as sort of the slowest or most significant bottleneck in those arrangements.
Okay, so platinum CPUs, but not pewter class network interface cards. So we gotta have a balanced approach here.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's an interesting thing because we do see that come up where there is some neglect on one element versus another, or the assumption that their 10 gig networking was fine in these conditions when they were using old SATA flash. But then once they introduced, really some high-speed NVMe devices, that immediately shifted the bottleneck to the network, and but they made the assumption that the network was never the bottleneck in the first place. Well, it wasn't, because they were using slower storage devices at the time.
I remember the vSAN 5.5 days with SATA flash and magnetic capacity, and we kind of struggled to ever hit 10 gig. And now I see some of these large POCs, and they're saying we got to throw out the 25s and go to 40 or 100. So it's definitely, the software has evolved to keep pace with the faster hardware.